Hello. Good Tuesday evening. How is everyone? I'm hoping well. I'm hoping well. It's nice to see you all in chat. Going to be a very interesting Tuesday night. Hopefully, I sound a little better than last week, where, oh gosh, my voice was horrible. And I was feeling a bit muddled too. Um, when you're not feeling well, everything just seems to be such an effort, But I'm doing much better, and I hope all of you are too. So, hey, it's good. Thank you, mods, for being here. It's good to see you all. Liam and Purple and Grace. Really good. Hey, Trees. I didn't see you sneak in here. I didn't get to type hello to you. Yeah. Mm. And hello over there at Twitch, first time chatter. It looks like it says Lorenzo Capriano. It's very good to see you. Welcome. Welcome. I think that's my first non-member, non-YouTube member or chatter over there. Really nice to have somebody. I hope you enjoy the content. I hope you're feeling better soon, there, Mouse. This does not want to give up. Whatever this is, this kind of like head thing, but kind of virus thing that's been going around. It's really, really not pleasant at all. But enough of that. So it's been quite the week in true crime or behind the scenes. I know some of you may want to talk about Karen Reed, what's going on there, and we will, okay. But for me, it's just the usual like types of shenanigans, and I do know some things have been filed, but to want to see what happens, I would rather do a little bit longer on Karen Reed since it is getting ready for trial, and we're waiting for some decisions on things. Some of them have come through, and some of them haven't. So let's just let's just hold tight on that one. Tonight's going to be all the guys. It's going to be very male defendant oriented for tonight. If you saw the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about Brian Kohberger and some things from the recent hearing and what's happened there. We're also going to talk about a little bit of an update on Zachary Hughes. I wanted to go over some things that happened there and also answer some questions that I received in DM and on the back of videos. And then we're going to talk about that case from New Jersey in Monmouth County, central to where I am, Paul Caneiro. There's been some movement there also, and I've got some information for you. And I am still working on that video. Okay, and we will get that out for you. It's going to be like all the particulars of the case, and I'll have that out before we go to trial. I'm hoping that trial be open, but let's see. So if it's okay with you guys, welcome, Jean. Thank you. Thanks for being here. It's good to see you. And thank you, Couch. Thank you very much, and thank you for modding over there at Twitch. So hopefully, I've got all of the bingo card links up and available. If there's any problem with the link, everybody let me know, but it's pinned to the top. Remember to submit your bingos in for a chance to be in the monthly drawing for a $25 gift certificate to Amazon. So, all right. Okay, so on that, why don't we get this show on the road, huh? Yeah. All right. So there's our likely suspects. Paul Caneiro in the yellow. We've got Zachary Hughes in the green. And, of course, Brian Kohberger in his lovely gray suit. We're going to start with Brian Kohberger. I saw this meme out there after the trial, not the trial, the hearing, rather. Sorry, I misspoke. But the hearing that was just done. Because his defense team, Ian Tyler and Elizabeth Massoff and Jay Logsdon, they are all pushing very hard to have a lot of almost all, I would say all of the evidence kind of tossed out. At first, they were concentrating on the IgG DNA evidence, and that was because Brian Kohberger was identified by name through family history or DNA testing through the public websites, the public systems that are used for genealogy typing to find your relatives and such. These are public sites. You voluntarily submit your DNA, and it's up there for people to search, like who you are. They do have exclusions if you do not want law enforcement to use it. Many of these sites actually have a clause that you can tick, but otherwise it's like open. And so the FBI had used one of these sites, and they're not disclosing exactly who, what, and where because of privacy of everything else. And the defense has got like an issue with this. And it kind of sounded like they're trying to say that it violates Brian Kohberger's Fourth Amendment rights to privacy, which, well, that kind of amused a lot of us because, the DNA that actually links him to the crime was found at the crime scene, and it was touch DNA on the sheath of the K-bar knife, the K-bar knife sheath. The knife was never found, but the sheath was found in close proximity, I think, kind of under the body of one of the victims. And, well, you can't really have a right to privacy to your own DNA found at a crime scene. I mean, oh, well, they're allowed to investigate. Like, come on, it's ridiculous. Well, basically, Ann Taylor's argument was that they didn't know it was Brian Kohberger until they did the IgG, and that they should have had a search warrant to do it. They would if they were going to be doing anything with Brian Kohberger. Well, here's the simple fact that kind of makes Ann Taylor's argument fly out the window, is that they weren't matching Brian Kohberger's DNA to the website. It was from the search of the DNA found in the garbage of a family member. It was not the DNA from the crime scene. So here we go. No, you don't need a search warrant to do that. You had a search warrant for the evidence. But then they went to step 2. They decided that there's something wrong with all the search warrants in the wording or the particulars that were listed. They went so far as to say in the actual affidavit for the search warrant that the exact wording and all of the wording, all of the interview of the witness that saw a man of stature wearing dark clothes, in a mask with bushy eyebrows outside in the house, that it should be thrown out because all of those particulars weren't mentioned in great detail. Now, it seems like nitpicking. And listen, I'm not slamming the defense. The defense needs to do everything that they can for Brian Kohberger. It is their job to throw everything they can at the court until something sticks. However, the reason I use this meme is because it was quite evident during the hearings, which lasted 2 days, half of it being behind closed doors, in that we weren't allowed to know what was going on, and the rest of it being for the public. Now, we had a media hearing before that, which they lost. They weren't going to open the IgG testimony or any of that to the public until it was all resolved. Now, here's the thing. You could see by this meme, and this is actually the way Judge Hippler, anybody who's watched my videos, which is just a live hearing with me with a little bit of commentary, in the Brian Kohberger playlist, they'll all be listed, and they'll put them up on the channel recently. He really just listened, and he was patient, but he really got annoyed about the Fourth Amendment privacy rules, because he's like, I'm sorry, you're claiming like the DNA, like what? Like, no. And he was pretty vocal about it. Now, he's not only pushing against the defense about this, he pushed on the state too. I mean, I'm starting to really like Judge Hippler. He came in here gangbusters. Like, the first thing out of his mouth was, I'd like to tell you I'm glad to be here, but I don't want to start on the wrong foot by giving you the wrong impression. He was not happy to catch this case. He said from the get-go, it's been going on too long, too many delays, too much back and forth with motions that really say the same thing. He does not like the paperwork circle jerk, so to speak. Okay, and I don't blame him. I mean, just in the elimination of the evidence or the death penalty, thousands of pages from the defense, where at the same time they say they haven't gone through all the evidence. All right. So that was evident when they were talking about certain search warrants in certain videos that were available in certain information, where Ann Taylor was quoting from one part of it, and the state had to remind her there were like 3 or 4 other parts, and it's available there, and nobody's hiding anything. It's there for you to look. It's there for you to see. Well, she's actually insinuating that law enforcement misled the judge or the grand jury for these search warrants and for the indictment. I don't know how that's going to go for them. I just know that Elisa myself was caught giggling like during the whole thing because of the pushback. Ann Taylor really doesn't do as well when challenged, and this judge does challenge. This judge is very well versed in the law. He does not mess around with the BS. He wants everybody to be professional, and he doesn't like grandstanding. And he basically was pushing back that the reason, like, all of a sudden, the defense is changing their tune on IGG. And as they're going through the arguments, he's like, no, I want a legal argument. He basically was insinuating they were grandstanding for the jury pool. Something that they had advocated should not be done. We moved our venue because they said he couldn't get a fair trial, and that the jury pool was being poisoned by what was out there. And this judge from the start has said too much stuff has been all tied up, and now he wants to start opening up stuff with the agreement of the parties. Now, that comes into play because the first part of this hearing and about the IGG evidence and everything was behind closed doors, so to speak. It was a closed hearing, and he has just recently ordered the transcripts to be done, and distributed to the state and to the defense, and then they will have 14 days to list what they would like redacted in this line in particular, which I found lovely. You will have 14 days to identify those portions of the transcript that should be redacted from public disclosure, providing a basis for the same. Now that's very key, because he's like, not just because you want it will that be sufficient. You actually need to tell me why, and I want to see some legal reason. Like, that's code for you better cite precedent in legal argument. And what I've just linked you there is the order from the judge. So we're going to be hearing more about that soon, but just the back and forth. It would be nice to see more of this information open, but I do understand it has to be a fine balance between what can be released and what can't, in order not to tamper with the jury pool. I mean, it's already a very high profile case. There's already a lot of speculation and a lot of information out there, and everybody going out. Yeah, but I'm enjoying watching Judge Hippler keep them to their pieces. He's really pushing on both sides to keep this moving forward. He does not want to reschedule this trial again. He wants to see it come to fruition as it needs to. He wants to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. He's kind of reminding me a little bit of Judge Kranek, but without the lovely, affable personality. Because, I mean, Kranek was just firm, but so patient and polite. Patience is not something I would assign as a adjective to George Hippler, at least not at this point. I mean, look at that face. He's just like, he's not having it. He's definitely not having it, Hey, welcome, Juju. Good to see you. Hey, Midbit. It's good to see you too. Yep. Thanks for joining us, guys. Let me just look for some questions on this one. I love when a judge gets ticks and how long a case that and how long a case has been going on. Exactly, exactly. And we've got a couple of long ones coming up to trial soon. Finally, like finally, at least I'm keeping my fingers crossed because stuff keeps happening, you know. Well, Mousy says, I felt like that judge over it all. Exactly. I mean, the reason I'm using this meme is because, damn, like, he was like all of us. That's what the meme is like. Judge Hitler is like, really? Okay. But he listened. He gave her lots of time. I mean, these were really long hearing, was it not? I mean, it was hard to keep conscious, to tell you the truth. As fascinated as I am with the process, you know. Yeah, don't leave DNA at a crime scene, then you won't get caught. Exactly. And don't be telling me, oh, you can't test that. You can't test that. After one list, like Couch says, let me just put it this way. After a single day, Ann Taylor got the a-hole bingo square. Yes, she did. Because she was just talking in circles and she wasn't taking the cues from George Hitler when he kept trying to redirect her to let me get some fact and precedent. And when you open up your oral argument with, well, okay, Judge. No, there's no law cases about this. There are no legal cases that I can cite for my oral argument on this. You know you're in for a ride. Like you just know it. And like this is when he was like, okay, here's your 45 minutes to 2 hours. Like here we go to go on why you think this is a precedent setting case of for Fourth Amendment rights to DNA that we didn't use to test to find out who he was until after he was arrested, because that's when we got it. Like, no. Brian Kohberger's DNA was never submitted to the genealogy sites. For me, that's the end of the story. I mean, they can try this all they want. For me, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm just like common sense. Okay. I'm just like you guys. I'm sitting here on the sidelines, maybe coming at it from a jury's perspective, so to speak. As soon as I heard that it wasn't his DNA that was used on the genealogy side, I was like, sit down, stop whining. You can't represent the genealogy site unless they want you to. You cannot represent all of the people that they went through unless they want you to. Like, they're not your client, Ann Taylor. Brian Kohberger is, and he has no right to any of that. There is no violation of his privacy at all. I get it. I mean, I'm sure I'm making it much simpler, you know, much simpler than it actually is for a legal issue for Ann Taylor. But I can't help it. It just, to me, I do think she's a very good attorney. But ever since they changed the venue, and now she has to travel even more, that saying, be careful what you ask for. She complained before about having to travel all the way to where she was to the other court. Now it's even farther away for her. And she just seems tired. It's like some of the steam has come out of her and they're just circling. They're just circling and circling. And mm, it's a little mippy. Yes, mippy. There will be banner. There will be banner. Liam says, I thought he was very patient and asked pertinent questions. He did. He asked very direct, pertinent questions. Very legal-minded, like, let me just see, is this really where you're going for? Because this is why that doesn't work. Like, he asked very good questions to make sure he knew where he was going for. And then he did throw in a couple of freewheeling, freestyle comments that I don't usually hear from judges. You know. But yeah. Look at the tree says that DNA is my sovereign citizen time capsule of personal information. Yeah, I don't have to follow the laws of the land, and I'm claiming that DNA and all the DNA of all the people as mine, as my right. Yeah, I hear you. Look at the trees. It is a bit, it is a bit much. Yes, that's all. That's what I would say. I wasn't trespassing. I was merely traveling through those people's apartment and everyone turned room temperature. Exactly. I have every right to travel everywhere I want, and I don't need a license to do it, and I don't have to abide by the laws of the land. I'm free as a sovereign citizen to go anywhere I want. Man, if they pull that argument, and I hope they're not watching these trees, and I hope they don't see what you just said, because we don't need to give Ann Taylor in the defense team any more ideas on how to file another 1,000 pages of 3 months of delay in this case. In a story, like I don't want to see that. Let's just, oh gosh, now that's a nightmare I have to think about. Yep, questions on both sides, Liam. You're right. He was fair. He pushed on the state too. He actually made the state admit in public that if there is an issue here on how they found out it was actually Brian Kohberger and pulled the name, if there's an issue with the terms of service of the genealogy site or how the FBI put two and two together, would you admit that that's a problem for the state? Or what did he say? Not a problem, a burden. In the state said, very well put, Judge. Yes, I would. you know, I like that part. He pushed back on them too. It's just like, I tell you, it was good. So, yep. And while traveling, you don't have DNA or a driver's license. Exactly. You don't. Yep. That's right. Don't leave your DNA anywhere. And you don't need a license if you're a sovereign citizen. It's ridiculous. I know. It is. Mm. It is funny when people say they don't want to abide by the laws of the land, but they want all of the protections of the laws of the land. Like that kind of gets me every time. I feel like this is a judge who's just as irked by bad legal manners as Bear, if not more. You know what? I'm thinking you're right there, Couch. He was annoyed at the same things I was, or rather, I was annoyed at the same things he was, maybe for different reasons. He's much, of course, he's more scholarly in law than I am, and he's got much more to back up why he's annoyed than I do. But I will say that hearing, well, it did really annoy the bear very, very much. Bad legal manners everywhere, everywhere, especially the tone that Ann Taylor was using, trying to tell the judge what was what. It almost sounded like she was trying to scold the judge. I don't think that's what she intends. I just think she was off her game. And when she goes off her game, she goes way off her game. Like her tone was off, her attitude about the whole thing. She looked bothered. She looked like, listen, Joel, like it was almost like my mother standing there saying, because I said so. And I was like, that never worked when I was growing up with me. I can't imagine that's going to work with the judge, Ann Taylor. Like, that's how it came off to me. And I know that it wasn't her intention. I know she's a very good lawyer. I have great praise for her. I really do. But just as a lay person watching it, I have to say, annoying AF. You really got it there, Couch. I was quite annoyed, and I think Judge Hippler was too. But he did his best to keep it together. Mousy said Ann Taylor was off worse than potato salad left outside for 3 days. Well, that's off. Yes, don't go near that potato salad. That's definitely off. All right. So, okay, let me get ready for the next one. If you guys don't have any more questions, let's move on a little bit. Gonna be an early show tonight, I think. Yeah. But free for questions, so bring them. All right. The next one I want to update you about is Zachary Hughes. Now, Zachary Hughes is the defendant charged with the murder of Christine Parcell in what they call the Rose Petal murder, or the Canebrake, because that's the street that she lived on, the Canebrake homicide. Okay, and Zachary Hughes was charged in this case quite a few years ago, also, and his trial was just recently had to be rescheduled because this is the trial where they could not seat a jury. They did not have enough respondents to the jury questionnaire, and they didn't have enough who would put up with 2 weeks. This trial's only 2 weeks. Now, I grant you, 2 weeks is a long time. It's not as long as what Kohberger is going to be, which is months. Okay, like, or Karen Reed, like, you know. But 2 weeks is 2 weeks, and people would not say that they could give, good time. And in this climate, in this economy, in the United States, I can understand that. You need special circumstances to be able to go to jury duty every day for 2 weeks. You do. And then there's the actual, possibly afterwards, it could be longer than that because there's deliberations. And if you got a tough case, it could go on. Okay. And I understand it's a commitment, and not everybody is financially able to make that commitment or even just emotionally able to do that for that long or find the headspace to do it. But it is our duty as American citizens to contribute. You need to get you need to actually be excused. And that I found astounding that people just didn't show up. You need to be excused not to show up for jury duty. You need to actually, they make it easy now, at least in my state. You can do everything online, and you find out before. They give you a calling number, but you need to actually be legally excused from it, or they can issue a bench warrant for you and drag your butt in. You can answer contempt of court with the judge. They didn't do that this time. They're just going to reach out and try to get more people. This is South Carolina. This is South Carolina, and there has been some problems there. There has been, weather and this and that. There were the hurricanes. Like, there's a lot. There's been a lot, and people may not just. It might be not be the first thing on their mind, so to speak. You know what I mean? So I kind of get it, sort of. Okay, but first thing, as you can see, real big there, is they did set a trial date. So in 2 weeks, on February 10th, we're going to have the trial. We're going to start to try again to sit a jury. Now, um, there was a great podcast about it, Juju. It was from Fitz News. I have all parts of it in the playlist for anybody that wants to go and check that out. They did it in several parts from Fit News right there in South Carolina. Um, they did. I that's why I didn't do, like, like a real detailed dive each time. I have talked about it a lot over the last 2 years, but um check those out if you're interested. That, I do believe, is the one that Juju's referring to. We were posting it all along, you know. But I have to say, they did a really good job, and they're really good at getting the documentation and getting the files. And if the trial is able to be streamed, we will be using Fit News stream in sharing their information. Okay. Yeah, Jay told you about it. It was great. Jay, I miss Jay. You. Okay, so we're going to have the trial on February 10th. Now, I did receive some questions about all of the evidence, like what is the main evidence that they have against Zachary Hughes in regards to this case. And I had mentioned a couple of it, like, and some people seemed shocked, but yeah, this is the detail. Oh, the evidence that the prosecution is actually going forward with, and I'm going to be careful how I say that. This is actually the evidence that's going to be brought out during the trial for sure. And that is the ring camera footage showing a person matching Hughes' description entering Christine Parcell's home just before she was killed. Okay, that's the ring camera from across the street that shows him on the bike. Okay. Okay. No, that's the actually showing him enter. Okay. They have the particular clothes and all that he was wearing and the build and everything. They don't have a facial recognition, but it's pretty darn good. Okay. Then here's the big thing. They have Zachary Hughes's DNA found underneath Christina Parcells' fingernails. She fought back. Remember, she was stabbed multiple times. It was very personal. This was a aggressive act, and it was the crime scene was staged. They called it the rose petal murder because whether during the altercation in fighting for her life she knocked over the rose petals or not, or he decided to spread them around to send a message, they were all around the body. Okay. The other thing is that we have approximately 1,769 WhatsApp messages between Zachary Hughes and the father of Christina Parcells' child, John Mello, and her, Christina Parcell, and John Mello were in a custody battle, a not so nice one, including one where Mello asks Hughes to harass Parcell, extremely harass her. And we're going to talk about that. Now, we did in the last session talk about the fact that both John Mello and Zachary Hughes are up on separate charges of harassment of Christina Parcell that happened prior to the murder. And that was the complete harassment through her job, her family, and her neighbors, and also actually submitting nude photography of her to other people all over the place, hand delivering some of them and mailing others, and also other harassment techniques that were used. In that, we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, in regards to the evidence, because the other last piece that we know is coming forward in the trial is the ring video showing a person leaving Parcell's home and riding a bicycle out of the neighborhood with a matching bike that was found at Hughes's home during a search warrant, and it was also in the back of the truck. Okay, and also the clothing that they were wearing and everything matches the person who went into the house. Okay, so they're pretty much linking him to the scene, and they are linking him to kind of a motive, the harassment in the custody case for John Mello, his relationship with John Mello. Now, I've done a little more research on John Mello, and he does not a really nice guy. There are whole Reddits and Facebook group about his harassment of other people. People on the job, he was let go of jobs, then he files these frivolous suits and harasses people, and those like he's not very well liked. And there's some contrary behavior in other incidences which lead to that he may have been over the top in his harassment of Christina Parcell in regards to this custody case. And yes, he currently still does have custody of his daughter, although he's in jail. Yeah, waiting trial. Now, the reason I said about the other evidence is we talked about they found a bag of white powder at the crime scene, and that was later tested to be an illegal substance, cocaine, I believe. However, the toxicology and the autopsy of Christina Parcell have no drugs in her system, no cocaine, nothing. It doesn't seem to be any problem with that. They also found a couple of envelopes in her purse of $500 each. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because since it's not listed as evidence against Zachary Hughes or Christina Parcell, nobody's bringing it up during the trial. I think it's going to come up in the harassment. I do believe that they were trying to disperse her reputation and try to make it look like she was selling drugs. You know, they already were trying to do a lot of other things to her in regards to her reputation, but everything, talking with others, they knew her friends and her family, she was so well liked. Like, people are finding it hard to think of her in that way. Okay, although there was another civil lawsuit in regards to CP with her fiance Bradley Post, that did indicate Christina Parcell too, and she was named because it was the mother of a friend of her daughter, and they were worried about pictures and stuff like that. Now that's all going to come out in Bradley Post's trial. Bradley Post is her ex-boyfriend. Well, not her ex-boyfriend, it was her boyfriend at the time, her fiance, who discovered the body. And there's a bunch of sketchy stuff about that. He's not sure if he was concerned about the child pornography part of it, that he knows he's a bad guy because there's some sketchy. He didn't want to talk to people. He didn't want to provide information. He's not going to be a very good witness. He is the one that found the body. He is going to have to talk about John Mello and certain things. But he's not exactly going to be the best witness going forward, because it does open up for Zachary Hughes' defense team to attack the character of Christina Parcell again through Bradley Post's actions, and just the kind of guy that he is. I will say, after researching more about John Mello and then knowing what's going on with Bradley Post, Christina Parcell had a really bad taste in men. And I kind of feel for her. I don't know if she's completely innocent of everything in regards to the CP, or if anything else was going on. But something made Zachary Hughes believe everything that John Mello said in regards to Christine Hughes. Now, we have seen people become incited in regards to things that happened to children before. We have another case where Paul Grice, the Kansas mom's case, was incited to murder just based on the fact that the grandmother said that the children were being abused, and that the mother of those children did nothing about it, and that she was going to get custody and they were at risk. And this bothered him so much based on his mental state and things that may or may not have happened to him in the past and his personal beliefs on it, that he was willing to commit murder. And I'm thinking that something incited Zachary Hughes the same way, because we're talking about a concert pianist here, well liked, traveling all over the world. Why would he risk his life this way, his freedom? He will go, if he's convicted of this murder, it will be for life in prison. Why would he do such a thing if not that he had such a personal belief that something horrible was happening, or that she did something really, really horrible? Like, we're going to have to wait for the trial to find out. We may never know why, unless he gives us the information, unless he takes a stand and actually orates, trying to get the jury on his side, to do like what they call jury nullification, where, yeah, I committed the crime, but here's the reason why. And it was so bad, like, I don't think I should follow through with the consequences of it because you would have done the same. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the jury sometimes can do that. I mean, it's rare. It's rare, but it's being talked about a lot lately because of these kind of cases. Because of cases that involve children and horrific events like this. They're talking about it in the Luigi Mangione case because, like, did he deserve it? I don't know. I don't really think jury nullification is a thing, but I do see, even in public relations part of the defense for Sean Combs, coming out with the same thing. People trying to try this case in the public, just like everybody, like, it's happening a little too often. I don't even want to say a little too often. I might as well just say all the time, because it just seems like every case we're dealing with, there is some element that is trying to actually turn the public opinion about everything right away. Nobody really wants to line up facts or evidence, or give the judicial system the chance to do their job before they decide, like, what's what. I try not to be that way. I know it's easy to fall into that trap. I don't blame people who do. But I just wish they wouldn't interfere. That's where I draw the line. It's just too much. All right, let me just check the chat for some questions. Having your own subreddit is a bit much. He must really have messed up with a lot of people. Yes, I was surprised that there was so much pushback. I thought it was just like the dad who wanted custody and a problem with the mom, kind of thing. He and Christina Parcell parted on bad ways, and he was just fighting. He was back and forth from Italy and into to the States and everything. But when I started reading about his history through several employers, neighbors, there was no one saying anything positive about this man. All of it was negative. And it wasn't coming from Christina Parcells' camp. This was general information from before and from the whole time, like way before, like a long history. So it was quite eye opening, you know. Yes, he did, Miss Mousy. There is DNA under the fingernails. That's pretty damning. It's just that alone can convict somebody. They have him at the scene of the crime with DNA under his fingernails, and they got a body with all those stab wounds. They don't need a knife. They don't need a video of him doing it. I mean, come on, guys. You guys just coming from a jury's perspective. What do you think? Is that enough? For me, it is. How do you explain your DNA under her fingernails? How do you explain you walking into the house a few minutes before the murder and leaving a few after? And trying to say it's not you. The denying is the problem. Okay. And then there were other things too that are going to come out, like the fact that he wouldn't give his passcode out to his phone. He said he forgot it, but he's a concert pianist. He can remember the notes of every Beethoven concerto out there that he plays on a regular basis, but he couldn't remember his passcode for his phone. Now, granted, that's possible. I know many adults in that situation that are really, really good at one thing and can't tie their shoelaces. It's a thing. I get it. So I don't want to say that it's not possible. It is. I just find it very unlikely, and it looks like obstruction to me. It's like, okay, you nailed me, but I ain't going to make it easy for you. You know? John Grisham and jury nullification was a thing. Yes, it was. Juju. Yes, it was. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, they don't like it to be mentioned, and I don't blame them because they actually want you to decide on the evidence. And because it actually goes against what a jury is supposed to do, you're not supposed to put your personal feelings into things like that. And in order to do jury nullification, would you guys agree? You actually have to bring a lot of your own beliefs in feelings, in emotional context into the facts and evidence. And that's not what a jury is there to do, basically. And so I understand why judges would like really not be thrilled with it at all. I wouldn't be, but it is a thing. And, rarely it happens, but I think a judge is going to push back on that greatly. Um, yeah, but I agree. Yeah, they don't like it at all. I agree, Liam. And I don't blame them. I really don't, you know, so. Mm. So anyway, I would suggest that, like Juju said, give the podcast a listen to, or look at the playlist to get yourself back up to speed on the things that have happened in this trial before it happens. If you like all the like minute details and stuff, and like I said, the Fitz News, the Rose Petal Murders podcast that's in there. I think it's like 5 or 6 shorter videos. It's worth a listen. It can be done like an audio. It's like a podcast. There's no real visuals along with it. It's pretty good, you know. Hey, Mrs. Cassandra. Yeah, Juju, I agree with you. I mean, I can't even imagine it happening. It would have to be such crazy circumstances, for me, because you're not supposed to be looking at things emotionally as a jury. I know you can't help some personal bias. I get that. Like obviously, some personal bias cannot be ruled out, but you would have to have major major personal inflection in context added to be able to do jury nullification. And it's just not how things are supposed to go, you know. All right. So if you guys don't have any more questions on Zachary Hughes, we are going to hopefully, if it is, I would like to know if it is going to be a live trial, whether you guys want to see it. Um, it would be during the day, and I realize some of you aren't available during the day because of work schedules and personal obligations, but at least it would be there with some of the commentary in the chat for later view for you later. Well, if I don't cover it, I could at least give you a link to somewhere else. But I do want to know if there's enough of you interested, I will cover it every day that it goes on. I do like watching the process. So but I do also like answering all the questions. So like I really do love when there are some people to bounce stuff off back and forth and to keep me company when they do all those sidebars. Because of Bradley Post being such a such a witness for both sides, almost, because the defense has the opportunity to bring up everything else, but only like skirt around it. It's going to be a lot of objections, and there's going to be a lot of sidebars. There's a lot of information that's being tried to be kept out in regards to John Mello because he's not on trial here. Zachary Hughes is, and then also Bradley Post. He's not on trial here. Zachary Hughes is, but both for the state and the defense, both of those names add some context to the case to persuade the jury one way or the other. And it's going to be like a battle back and forth on what comes in and what doesn't, Yeah. Although juries have definitely convicted on flimsy evidence in an emotive case. Yes, especially when it involves heinous, absolutely heinous random crimes or children, violent offenses. Absolutely, Liam, I agree. It's very hard to keep your how you're feeling about something out of it. You just do your best to look at the evidence to justify it. It would be unreasonable for us to expect juries to be completely non-emotional about any of it and not to bring any of their personal beliefs or feelings in regards to certain situations into it. They just need to balance it and act like, reasonably looking at the facts and evidence and try to find justification for one way or the other. You know, um, it's a balance. It's definitely a balance. You know. Oy. Okay. The last one I'm gonna bring up to talk to. Let me just check the chat a little bit and check over there on Twitch. Everything. Oh, I see. Juju says she'll be listening for sure. That's good. So either way, whether I do it live or I put it up later, we'll have some coverage on it for sure. Absolutely. So, all right. So our next bad guy, not guilty yet, but on trial, defendant Paul Caneiro in the in Monmouth County in the Colts Neck mansion family murders. He murdered the whole family of his brother. He's allegedly murdered the whole family, his brother's wife, and their two children in a home and set it on fire. It was discovered. And this is from November 20th of 2018. And I say that because the judge in this case, Judge Mark Lemieux, he actually in September had said, that's it. I'm done. We are moving forward to trial. I want no more delays. We're going to do this evidence thing because remember, this is the case with the big evidence, DNA evidence exclusion that they want to do based on some new technology, which was able to match DNA composition of multiple DNAs combined to very, very small samples with the probability factors of exclusion on it. Could it be this one? Could it be that one? To where they were actually had a couple of spots on a pair of jeans, and they were actually able, through this STR mixed DNA sorting and testing equipment that came out of New Zealand, new software for testing the samples. They were actually to link him again to evidence at the crime scene. Now they definitely have enough evidence anyway, but the DNA evidence is a cincher because it is the DNA of the children. So, the children were stabbed. Okay, the parents were shot and stabbed. Well, the children were stabbed and left in a burning house to die, and they did. And they were young, and that can be quite emotional. And I don't think that that's why they're trying to get it thrown out. I think they're trying to get it thrown out just because it's DNA evidence. And this guy's been fighting hard against these charges. They have tons against him. They have several other cases against him for insurance fraud and obstruction of justice, and moving money out of the businesses illegally, in committing fraud. They have enough. He's up against 16 charges, and I bring that up because in December he was offered a plea deal, like plead guilty to the murders, and we have enough evidence on that, and you'll get life in prison, no parole. But no, he wants to go to trial, and he wants to go to trial even after Judge Lemo really said, like, are you sure? Because with everything going on with you, you're like 211 years plus, like, I mean, he's never going to get out no matter what, based on all of the charges. Even if they find some really crazy loophole to get him off the murder charges, everything else is going to stack up against him anyway. He's not going to get out. He's not going to get out. But anyway, the judge really was moving forward. We had a March 31st date for the trial. We were moving towards, we had that big hearing in regards to the STR mixed DNA evidence, whether it would be admitted or not. And Judge Lamar was already working on that. He actually learned about the technology. We had hearings that took days. Okay. And, they had an actual DNA expert in the defense that works there as a defense attorney who does this regularly, who was really pushing on the experts from the labs that did the testing, and even brought in from New Zealand one of the members of the software team that wrote this and designed how to use it to explain what the probability factors were, how it goes through the process, like the whole thing. It was a whole big deal. And George Lowe will be giving us his decision on that, whether the evidence can come in, by the end of February. Okay, he was cutting it kind of close for the March trial. And, defense and state were already like on pins and needles waiting on all of that. But since then, there's been a death of a prominent attorney in the public defender's office, and it caused a big shakeup in there were tons of reassignments in the public defender's office in Monmouth County. So Paul Caneiro was given a new attorney. Okay. And, well, first of all, here's a short video on that hearing of Friday when the new attorney, Monica Mastalone, had to go in front of Judge Lamo and ask to move the trial because she'd only been on it for a week. The previous public defender, who was the lead, I believe his name was Michael Wick. He was assigned to some other cases that he'd take over. There was a prominent attorney who unfortunately passed away, and a lot of reassignments happened. So Monica Mastalone grabbed this as lead public defender. We already had the second chair, Victoria Howard, there, and she stayed. Okay, so she has a lot of the information, but it's not fair for the lead attorney to go into something with only a few weeks. And I get that, but she did have 2 months. George Lomo was not happy, but he did grant it that, he doesn't want anything thrown out or overturned. You know how careful judges can be to make sure they're being as fair as possible. So, although chagrined as he was at the fact that he needed to move it, he actually gave Mr. Caneiro the option to say, is that enough time? He was very careful to make sure that Paul Caneiro understood that his attorney was okay with going to trial on May 19th. Okay. So he moved it to May 19th. That's when they'll start jury selection again, and they'll start testimony by June 2nd after they pick their jury. That's how he does it. He lays out both days. You have this time, like, this is when we're doing jury selection, and then this is when testimony is going to begin. So I gotta say, like, the video that I just dropped for you guys, the link, that is just the judge going out of his way to make sure that Paul Caneiro understands everything, because he doesn't want to get tied up with this at all, because they have done everything they can to keep the evidence out of this case. Part of this case was that the two brothers were in business together, in that part of the motive, or the prosecution's case in regards to what they believe motive would be, was that the brother was siphoning money out wrongfully and not doing his share of the job, and there was a lot of money contention, and so there are thousands and thousands and thousands of financial documents, and he tried everything he could to get every little piece that he could of the financial documents out, because they do prove fraud. They do prove that he was on disability and he was earning money even though they paid it to his wife. It's a big no-no. Like, there's going to be a big charge back to the state that he's going to owe the state on another private case between disability fraud on that in the state of New Jersey. That's probably going to happen in the future. So he was doing everything he could to keep everything out. Monica Massillon, in her petition to the judge, told her there's 60,000 documents in financial that I have to go through, because that's going to be part of the motive of this case. And I kind of feel for her, like, it's a lot of work, but she's up for it, she says, and she's going to be able to do it. So the judge did grant the extension. She wanted sometime in late June, but he said, nope, we're starting jury in mid-May, and we're going to trial on June 2nd. There should be plenty of time. So he didn't give her everything that she wanted. And I think that's why he was very careful in making sure that Mr. Caneiro was on board with what he decided, and what his attorney just agreed to. Because once he pushed the date in, of course, the attorney agreed, like, okay, I can be ready, no problem. And they went forward with all of that. And they do this whole big statement. But I wanted to show you, because it's different than other courts. Like in New Jersey, they actually, she tells him and informs him right in front of the judge, right in front of the cameras. Like, it's not a private conversation. She's like, do you understand it? I just told him, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's very unique. At least I thought so. I thought it would be interesting for you. The other thing I have is the article that gives a little bit of information, a little more information in regards to the case. Now, I know I'm going to be coming up with a big video on this, like, not a big video, but a more informative video on this before we get to the trial on May 19th. We haven't talked about this a lot because I was waiting on all of this information on the STR mixed DNA, and I was kind of waiting to find out what the judge is going to do. I hate leaving a pre-trial informative video with the, oh, but we don't have this ruling yet, so we don't know. Like, so I've been waiting. And unfortunately for me, it just keeps getting delayed. So there we go. Yeah. It is going to be quite interesting. So I am looking forward to, I don't know if this one's going to be public. If it is, because it's so close to home, and it's been, gosh, since 2018. I mean, it's going to be almost 5 years, 4, no, not 5, almost 7, years waiting to go to trial on this. That's a long time. That's a very long time for the families to wait for justice. There is a surviving brother, and the parents, of his brothers in their family, and his brother's wife's family. I mean, everyone, everyone that knew them. Um, it's very well liked family in the area. There's a lot of people waiting for justice to be held in this case. It is a very, very long time. And and the interesting part is about this new technology with DNA. Have been saying for a while now, every case is tied up with DNA in some kind of digital evidence. Whether it be cell phones, cell phone data extractions, or the cell phone tower triangulations, building up G-force nets or whatever they call those things for gathering place of people, GPS from your car, all of this, even people's neighborhood ring videos in businesses, camera of the streets and everything for locations. I don't know what he's thinking will happen at trial, Liam, because like this could be over with already. He could be serving his time and go on his way in a better jail with better food and more things to do. Once you finally go to prison, you at least have activities and stuff like that. Like where he is now, waiting on trial is local in not the best. I mean, limited situations, limited stretching outside, limited visitation. He doesn't have as many privileges that he would eventually get once he's serving his term. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what does he think is going to happen with all of this that they have against him at the trial? That he didn't just take a deal that would just be life. Does he really think he's going to get less with a jury? He doesn't present as a likable person. It's not like he's got this sparkling personality and he thinks he's going to take the witness stand and everybody's going to fall in love with and think he couldn't possibly do it. Doesn't have a great reputation, and there's going to be plenty of people to speak out. There's plenty of neighbors that can talk. He's got obstruction charges because he told them everything was fine. He and his brother had a loving relationship. There's never been any problems. And day one, the business manager laid it out, everything that's been going on for a month, and how every friend and family member that they talked to talked about how this guy was not so good and had a really bad relationship with his brother. He was pushing him and taking advantage of him and whatever. And that it was the one who is deceased that was the decent, good person who was always trying to do the right thing. And he was trying to help him out the best they could. All this one did was take advantage. I mean, people did not have a lot of nice things to say about him. So I can't imagine there's going to be like character witnesses that are going to come forward and persuade everybody that it couldn't possibly be him. Okay. And with the DNA evidence, in one thing I got to tell you is that not only did he try to burn down the brother's home to hide the evidence of the bodies and get rid of the DNA, he then tried to make it look like the whole business and the family was getting attacked by trying to burn down his own house with his wife and children inside. I kid you not, people. Yeah, he tried to burn his own house down with his wife and children inside. They did thankfully get out, but they got out on their own accord. Not because he warned them, not because he made it easy for them. I get serious bad vibe, guys, with this gun, but I just kind of have to stay trying to stay as unbiased as possible, and I want to see the evidence actually convict him, rightfully so. But like Liam, I'm confused as to why he didn't just take a deal and just move on to the prison where he could serve his time, because he's going to be there anyway. He's been in the system all this time and not in as pleasant a place. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know with this one. But anyway, the picture there is him, and that is the new attorney, Monica Masalone. Yeah, and I will have the judge and everything. I've had the judge picture up for you in the last time we talked about him, which was a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. Oh, but yeah. Yeah, it does seem like he's not dealing with a full deck, or he just has a very high opinion of himself, Mrs. Cassandra. Like, that I don't understand why he's pushing so hard. But then again, look at Alex Murdaugh. He's never going to get out of jail, even if he gets a new trial on the murder charges. And he's still appealing, and he wants a new trial if he says he didn't do it and he wants it reversed. And he's still, with all the financial crimes, he's never getting out of jail anyway. He lost his appeal on the financial crimes. He lost his appeal that Judge Newman was biased, okay, in his sentencing and too harsh. You didn't hold water. Now they're trying to get a new trial. And granted, if they do, because of the, actions of the clerk, the count, of course, of course, what is he going to ever get out of jail? No. Like, that's a lot of money. He has not got public defender funds. It's a lot of money to put out. I just don't get it. Well, with Alex Murdaugh, it's all about reputation, I guess. Although how he thinks his reputation would be saved anyway after what he did to everyone he knew in regards to financial fraud, stealing from his clients, his family, his own partners. I mean, what reputation is there to save? It's not going to make everything go away. But it just means something to him. It really upsets him to be called the murderer of his wife and his youngest son. And he just does not want that. But this video, like I said, cell phones and DNA, and there is evidence that he was where he said he wasn't, and his house of cards fell away. But that is one trial I'm not looking forward to going through again. Although, gosh, I had so much fun with all of you doing a live trial. Bubba, oh my gosh, I think about Bubba, the poor dog that complained for everything over and over. Poor Bubba. I think about him often. And he met so many great people covering Murdaugh trial. It was very popular out there. Everybody covered it, but I really had a good time here with my small group of true crime junkies who just like to hear the evidence, like to talk about it and ask questions and be reasonable. And I like it. I like it. I like no drama. I like no conspiracy theories. Although once in a while we put our toe in there a little bit on the conspiracy end of things, just a little bit, because it's entertaining, somewhat, but mostly just to debunk all of it. Well, on that, if you guys don't have any other questions, I would just like to tell you like what's coming up on the channel. But let me just check. Justice for Bubba. Justice for the dog. Absolutely, Bubba. The dog. Thanks, guys. You guys are too much. I really do. Okay, it's like, yeah, and Couch over here on Twitch too. And Twitch comes through for Bubba also. Yes. Like Bubba, yes. Yes, say no to the ninja chicken assassins. Remember that, Liam? You had to be 3 foot tall in a ninja to do what their experts said happened. That was pretty amusing. Like, that was pretty amusing. Yes, it was. Yeah. Well, it was definitely okay. So on day, well, for the rest of the week. Well, tomorrow I have a stream for you guys. Yes, I do believe that at 10 o'clock tomorrow Eastern Standard, and that would be 7 o'clock PST or 9 o'clock CST. And for the UK, it's very late. It would be like 3 a.m. in the morning. Sorry about that. Or it'll be mid morning afternoon for those of you in Australia or New Zealand. But I'm going to do a stream about Britney Spears. I'm going to be joined by Legally Dirty Blonde, Lana, who has streamed with us on Rex Harriman and a few other cases out of New York, and our friend Mandy. So we wanted to talk about some of the stuff going on with Britney Spears and just have a fun stream talking about it. So I hope some of you can come join us and talk a little bit about Britney Spears, who's got, wow, what a history legally and kind of social media wise, and also with music and everything. There's a lot there, and it should be a little more entertaining. It's not going to be a very serious deep dive. Don't expect all the bells and whistles that I would pull up for a true crime case, because this was just a notion. Yes. Yes, yes, Mrs. Cassandra, we're going Brittany, bitch. Yes, we are. Miss Spears all the way. Yes, but there's a lot there, and there's people on both sides of everything when it comes to Britney Spears, and we thought it would be a good, well-rounded, fun conversation, just something to explore. So hopefully some of you can join us. I'll be putting that up later on tonight or first thing in the morning. And I'm looking forward to it. I like the little lighter things. Now that I'm feeling a little bit better, I hope the weekend's going to go off the way it was. I would like to apologize for not being here for the weekend, but sorry, not sorry. Like, we just can't do it sometimes. We had the hearings and they went really long. They were exhausting, and I had not been feeling, 100%. So, rather than muddle through and mess everything up, I hate to take content down. I don't. So I don't want to put something out there that I'm not actually 100% behind. You know what I mean? So there you go. Cool. Yup. Weird stuff. Poor kids. Yeah, I get it. But they're almost adults now, and she's been reconnecting with them. Like, that's something we're going to talk about. What's going on all with that. So bring your questions, bring your commentary, bring, whatever you feel about Britney Spears. Join us. It should be a great conversation. So I hope to see you guys there. And on that, if there's nothing else, is there anything, and that's what I wanted to say, is there anything else you guys want to see in regards to, hearings and trials? Like, are we missing the mark anywhere? Please always feel free to comment. If you don't feel you want it out there in public on the back of a video, contact me, put it in a DM. But, part of what I am here for, not only do I love all of this, but I actually want to bring things that you guys want to talk about, whether it be the true crime stuff during the week or the weekend fun stuff. I want to hear from you. It's the one thing I really enjoy out here is the interaction with everybody. And I don't want to feel like I'm not bringing you what you want. You know what I mean? Like, I want to feel like we're all doing this, like, kind of together. Does that make any sense? I know it sounds kind of hokey and corny, but hey, the bear gets like that sometimes because I'm a nerd, first off, you know, just average, everyday person in true crime like the rest of you. I just want to make sure that it's interesting and that you're satisfied with what we're doing. And if we can do anything better, I want to hear about it. I want to hear about what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see more of or less than. Mrs. Cassandra is always the one. You give me what I want, boo. You fresh, yes, and she brings the mayhem every single time. Thank you so much. And I love it. Rocket Couch, I'll bring a helmet. Okay. You mean for the Britney stream? Okay, we'll bring a helmet. Yes. Well, thank you for that, Mrs. Cassandra. It's a nice thing. It's a nice thing for you to say. But seriously, cases. I mean, Mrs. Cassandra wanted P. Diddy. And we compromised on that because I didn't want to cover like 130 civil lawsuits that were like all the same. Like, I couldn't keep up with all of that. But I will say it was a good idea because the criminal case itself is getting to be very, very interesting. And we'll be talking about that soon too. Probably by Tuesday, there'll be much, much more like to talk about. Hopefully we'll have some answers in Karen Reed by next Tuesday and hopefully by Courtney Clenny also. But if anything big happens, check the community tab. Usually if I do anything on Twitter, I also try to put it on the community tab so you guys are aware. But I don't see any too much coming out. We're going to look for rulings on Hippler about all of this going on with the evidence. We still got a lot. Karen Reed, there's some motions we're waiting on. Courtney Clenny had a hearing. We still don't know what happened. There's nothing. The hearing has been removed from the site, and I see no documentation whatsoever. Still looking out. House Boone, not settling in very well in prison. She's refusing to sign some of the orders about searches and stuff, acting as if she doesn't sign it, they won't be able to do it, but it's just the law of the land. Yeah, you she's just booning it like she does. It's a Sarah Boone's not going to change no matter what, you know. And as far as I know, she's still going forward with an appeal, but we haven't seen anything yet. She does have an appeal attorney. It's still listed on the site. I haven't seen any filings, but you know, if they do, we will cover the appeal too. Because gosh, can you imagine if she gets a new trial? That one, I don't know. Just because of her sheer audacity, I would cover that one, you know, just so I could nitpick it like nitpick her, really. Not exactly, not that you have favorite or not favorite, uh, eh, defendants, so to speak. Well, Sarah Boone is going to be, as far as bad legal manners, how about just bad manners in general? Bad life manners. Sarah Boone annoyed me to no end. Well, she was quite entertaining. She was definitely, she brings the entertainment. Sarah Boone is not appealing. No, she's not appealing as a person, but she's appealing as a defendant. Although I wouldn't want to be her appellate lawyer. I wouldn't want to be her lawyer at all because she's not writing letters right now, but she has an appellate lawyer, which means she has somebody to complain to and to blame. Yep. I'm not going to sue you, Liam. I don't have the time. Those damn letters were entertaining, Mrs. Cassandra. They were absolutely entertaining, those letters. I mean, I'm sure, like the rest of you, I do miss a few. I missed the letters a little bit. It was entertaining. It definitely was. But on that, I'm going to sign off, everybody. And I will write you a letter. Just don't. Please don't. If you do, please make it as entertaining as Sarah Boone. But on that, everybody, please have an excellent night. I hope to see you tomorrow. And if not, then on Friday and hopefully on Sunday. I hope that B has is organized her schedule and taking care of what she does, and we'll be back on Sunday. It's been like 2 weeks. I miss you guys just hanging out and chatting, like on the not serious stuff. But I do am very grateful that you were all here tonight to do this. And on that, I'm gonna sign off and see you all during the week. Hopefully.